Alright, battlers, I am so excited for this video today. As you heard, in September of this year, there was a Safari Zone held in Montreal, Canada. The Sylph Arena and the Ghost Stadium crew got together and they set up a Safari Zone Cup. So this was a ton of fun. There were a ton of types that were allowed. A few things were kind of restricted, if you will. So, for example, you had a maximum of 2 of each type per team, maximum of 2 choices of some restricted picks as well, including key Pokemon like Azumarill, Venusaur, Fortress, Skarmory, Altaria, Bastiodon, Probopass. So this cup was huge. I mean, this was the largest cup ever held in the North Americas. I was unable to go to the Montreal Safari Zone. However, I reached out on Twitter and I said, hey, if anybody would like for me to shoutcast their battle footage, I would be honored to take a look at it and post it to the channel. I got a response within a few minutes from a trainer named Indigo. So Indigo graciously sent me his footage. A little bit about him. Indigo is a very, very good trainer from Mexico. His current PvP coach is House Stark 93, as I'm sure a lot of you have heard of. He's an excellent player as well, and Indigo played really well in the Montreal Safari Cup. This cup went 7 rounds, guys. This was a long cup. I think there were over 200 participants. I have the link down below to the cup results. But more importantly, I have the link to Indigo's channel. Indigo is a player from Mexico. His second language is English. He is working on his shoutcasting, but he produces some excellent battle footage with music to it. So if you just wanted to watch some battles and probably not hear somebody talk, kind of like I tend to do, that could be a really good channel for you to check out. I encourage everyone watching to go down below and look at Indigo's channel, subscribe if you like. He's an excellent battler, and I cannot wait to see what he does in Season 2. For the Montreal Safari Cup, Indigo10235, I'll just call him Indigo throughout the video, decided to bring Dragonite, Lantern, Skarmory, Lapras, Ivysaur, and Vigoroth. Of course, the thing that stands out the most on this team is that Dragonite. I mean, that thing is a prize. As you'll see in the video, it does use Dragon Breath and Dragon Claw. That is a double legacy, Great League Dragonite. I know so many people have powered up all of their legacy Dragonites, if you even have one anymore. I only have one. It's got crap IVs, but it is over 3,000 CP. Back in the day, it used to always be about CP, but now that we're all battlers, looking for those Great League legacy Pokemon is always a challenge. Indigo is going to come in with Lantern, with Water Gun. He is going to be running a standard Skarmory moveset. Another exciting addition of his team is the Lapras. He's going to bring Lapras with Ice Shard, Surf, and Skull Bash. I love that moveset. Skull Bash is very interesting and can really change the dynamics of a match. He does have Ivysaur with the standard Power Whip and Sludge Bomb, and he does have Vigoroth with Counter Body Slam and Bulldoze. Kicking off the Montreal Safari Cup, Indigo is going to face a trainer who's bringing Toxicroak, Ivysaur, Lantern, Skarmory, Azumarill, and Munchlax. We've seen a lot of Munchlax in the tournament footage covered by King and other shoutcasters, so I'm excited to see what this trainer does with it. As you see here, we have Indigo's team on the left. Jumping right into the first round, he's going to open with that awesome Legacy Dragonite against Toxicroak. So those Dragon Breaths are going to eat that Toxicroak for lunch. He is going to decide to stay in here with the Dragonite and get off this Dragon Claw against the Lantern. It does good chip damage against Lantern, and he decides to bring in Vigoroth. As you can see, he's tapping on the Bulldoze for the right side. He does decide to shield that Thunderbolt though, and I think the Body Slam will be enough to bring down the Lantern. He's going to use the Body Slam to bring down Lantern. His opponent still does have 2 shields, and Toxicroak comes in. This is not good news for Vigoroth because it is a part normal type. Toxicroak will win this matchup. He does get a few counters in to do some chip damage, and this is still anybody's game. Indigo's going to think it over and decide to come in here with Dragonite. Either the Mud Bomb or the Sludge Bomb won't be super effective. He does decide to shield the Sludge Bomb, and in comes Skarmory. So his opponent has switch locked himself into Skarmory, and this is good news for Indigo because he's got a Lantern with Water Gun. He does fire off a few Water Guns here trying to get to the Thunderbolt. He is going to farm a little bit more. Skarmory does get to the Sky Attack here and is starting to wear down this Lantern. His opponent still does have a shield, so this is a tricky matchup. He taps on that Thunderbolt, but he is just one Air Slash too late. He does fire off the Thunderbolt here though because Lantern survives that third Sky Attack. His opponent does shield, and look at that, guys. Indigo gets to a second Thunderbolt, and he has to be very happy about this. He does bring down that Lantern, and right there, that's a key move. He does make a fast switch out of Lanterns to avoid that Toxicroak farming up any more energy. One more Dragon Claw from the Dragonite brings down Toxicroak, and he wins round 1. Indigo is going to lead with Lantern here against Azumarill. This is a great matchup for the Lantern. As you can tell, Indigo does open his switch tray expecting for that Azumarill to bail out. However, the Azumarill does stay in. He's not going to shield this because if it was Hydro Pump, Ice Beam, or Play Rough, either way, Lantern could tank it. He's going to fire up the Thunderbolt here against the Lantern. It goes unshielded, so that does super effective damage. He's going to fire off a second charge move, which is another Ice Beam. Indigo attempts to farm down the Azumarill with the water guns, but he is going to have to shield this final Ice Beam. He does use a few more water guns here to bring down the Azumarill in spite of the lag. In comes a Toxicroak, and Indigo's going to go here for the Thunderbolt. Because there are 2 shields, I think this is definitely the right move. He actually gets to a second Thunderbolt. In a shields down situation, you would always want to nuke that Toxicroak with the Hydro Pump, but in this situation, Indigo plays things perfectly. He does bring in the Skarmory, and whatever attack this is, he doesn't need to shield because Skarmory will double resist most of them. He does bring down the Toxicroak, and in comes another Skarmory. So this is a mirror match. His opponent, Skarmory, does have the health advantage. However, he does have a little more energy. So he is going to absorb this Sky Attack, no problem. He decides to bring in the Vigoroth here. Vigoroth is going to do good damage to the Skarmory, and Indigo has me feeling pretty comfortable right now. He is going to use a Body Slam, and then in comes a Sky Attack from his opponent Skarmory. He does decide to shield, and these counters are starting to add up. Let's see if the Skarmory shields the second Body Slam. And he does not. That Skarmory is getting dangerously low. Skarmory is going to fire off that second Sky Attack, bringing that Vigoroth very low. A few more counters here, and that Skarmory is inching down. We're going to fire off a Body Slam here, and it does get shielded. That Skarmory is very weak, though, and Indigo brings in his own Skarmory to use the Sky Attack and win round 2. Indigo wins round 1 of the Montreal Safari Cup. Going into round 2, he's going up against an opponent who's bringing Ivysaur, Lapras, Lantern, Altaria, Toxicroak, and one of my favorite freestyle picks, Trash Wormadam. I like Wormadam because it walls Psychics and Grass at the same time and does well against the Darks. Going into this round, he is going to lead with that Legacy Dragonite yet again. He's going to be met though with an Altaria. This is a very interesting matchup because as you can tell, Altaria just has superior bulk. That Dragonite is doing good work, but it's getting chipped down so quickly. It does fire off the Dragon Claw here, and he does decide to stay in to wear down that Altaria. He's going to bring in the Vigoroth here. Against the Altaria, he's going to decide to shield the Sky Attack. That Altaria's got a ton of energy. Here comes a second Sky Attack. Vigoroth is going to take this like a champ though. In comes Toxicroak, and this is not a good matchup. We saw this in round 1 against his previous opponent. However, his opponent is Switch Lock, so this is a perfect opportunity to bring in the Skarmory. Skarmory is going to do good work against Toxicroak in spite of the double charge moves flying at it. Another Mud Bomb doesn't do much to Skarmory, but he needs the Skarmory around to bring down that Altaria. So he is going to do a very interesting tactic there. He only hits one bubble, trying to keep that Toxicroak in so he can farm it up. In comes Lapras, and this match is not looking too good for Indigo. He does fire off the Sky Attack and then decide to bring in his Vigoroth, but his Vigoroth is so worn down he doesn't get to the Bulldoze in time. In comes Skarmory, and that Lapras is going to use a Surf to finish off Indigo to win round 1. Jumping right into round 2, Indigo is going to lead with the Skarmory. He's got Lapras behind it as well. His Skarmory is going to run into Toxicroak, so this is the perfect situation for the Skarmory. Expecting the switch, and it does come. Here comes Altaria. Indigo is ready this time, though. He's got Lapras. He is using those Ice Shards, and then in comes the Surf. Surf does a little chip damage against the Altaria, which is fine. He's going to shield this Sky Attack and keep his Lapras around. A few more ice shards, however, that Altaria gets to one more sky attack. After this Altaria falls, I'm expecting Toxicroak to come in because Indigo is switch locked, and there it is. However, Indigo was smart. He farmed up some energy and has a surf ready. He burns that shield from that Toxicroak, and even though Lapras went down, Lapras did an excellent job taking down Altaria and burning the shields. In comes his own Lapras, and then we have Vigoroth against Lapras. This is favorable because Vigoroth does have the counter, and it will do well against the Lapras, and those body slams are going to add up quickly. Indigo does decide to shield this surf. He is going to have to take this second surf though because the shields are down. That's okay though because Vigoroth is pretty tanky. A few more counters here. He's trying to get to the body slam to just get rid of this Lapras, and he does. Lapras falls. In comes the Toxicroak. So this is a interesting situation because Skarmory does have no shields, but it is going to be super effective. And the one thing you have to watch out for are the Toxicroak counters. So he's going to fire off the Sky Attack to burn that last shield. A little bit of lag here, but not a huge issue. It might have affected the outcome to a degree, but we'll see how this all ends. A little more lag. He's going to get to the second Sky Attack though, and I think that will do the trick. Skarmory takes down the Toxicroak, and Indigo wins that round as well. Going into this round, he's going to open with Vigoroth. He has Skarmory and Lapras in the back, so a similar team comp to before. We're just going to switch up the flow, as Hero Vange would say. He's going to run into Altaria, though, which is a little bit unfortunate. I am surprised here at how much damage the Body Slam does. I think with a 1 or 2 shield matchup, Vigoroth actually has a chance against this Altaria. Vigoroth is such a great Pokemon. We saw it in the Jungle Cup quite a bit, and we haven't seen it much since. I do think it'll be very important in Season 2, especially with the evolving metas. That Altaria is going to get to a second Sky Attack and bring down the Vigoroth. Indigo has 2 really good options here. He does decide to go in with the Skarmory. He's going to farm down Altaria. However, he is going to run into Lantern. This is not a good situation because he has 2 Pokemon that are weak to Lantern. He's got to get rid of that Lantern as quickly as possible. He does decide to bring in Lapras here. So Lapras has an interesting matchup against Lantern. It is very bulky, however, it cannot take many Thunderbolts. He's going to go here for the big Skull Bash. I like this move because it does buff that Lapras' defense, and hopefully it will pay off in the end. In comes Toxicroak though, and things just got worse for Indigo. He does fire off the Surf, and Toxicroak does decide to shield that. This trainer knows that they have a Toxicroak and a Skarmory, so things are not looking good. Skarmory's going to come in and the shields are down. This match is going to come very close. This Toxicroak fires off the Mud Bomb, and Indigo has to go here for the Sky Attack because those counters are adding up quickly. In comes the Lantern though, and the Lantern's got a ton of energy, so it's going to Thunderbolt down this Skarmory to win the game. Indigo's next opponent is going to be bringing Sceptile, Charizard, Whiscash, Wigglytuff, Probopass, and Altaria. I love how creative this team is. I love that Sceptile's in it. I think Sceptile is a lot of fun to run. Kachina Mom showed me that actually. Sceptile is a confirmed boss. Jumping into round 1 against this opponent, Indigo is going to decide to lead with Lapras. Lapras is going to run into Charizard, and this is a great matchup for Lapras. Comes Probopass. Indigo has an excellent answer for Probopass though in Vigoroth. Vigoroth is going to use the counters here to wear down this Probopass. It's trying to get to the Bulldoze, but he says, you know what, I'll just go for the Body Slam spam. Can't lose with the Body Slam spam. It does a little bit of chip damage and does not draw the shield. In comes the Rock Slide from the Probopass, and Vigoroth is going to survive that nicely. In comes the Charizard though with some energy bank from before. Indigo is going to decide to shield here against the Blast Burn, which was a smart move because that would have fried the Vigoroth. In comes a Body Slam, and Charizard is great, but it's so squishy. Here comes a second Body Slam, and it does a chunk of damage against that Charizard. Charizard's going to fire off another move here, which is Dragon Claw. It does bring down the Vigoroth, however, that Lapras is back. Lapras uses a few Ice Shards to bring down Charizard, and in comes Wiggles. So Wiggles is going to get hit by a Skull Bash here. That neutral damage is going to do great work, and Lapras is now buffed. In comes Ivysaur to finish things up. You actually don't even need a Sludge Bomb here. He just goes for the Vine Whip and brings down the Wigglytuff to win round 1. Indigo's going to jump into round 2 against this opponent with Ivysaur. He does have Vigoroth and Lapras in the back. This is a very good team of 3 that he's been running, and I think the synergies are prevalent. He's going to lead with that Ivysaur and run into Probopass. So Probopass is an interesting opponent against Ivysaur, especially with the Rock Slides. The quick switch happens into Vigoroth, and then in comes Whiscash. Whiscash is a dense opponent to fight. Unless you have a grass type, and you just have to hope that you have enough damage output to bring it down. That Mud Bomb is not going to be super effective against Vigoroth, and both trainers do encounter a little bit of lag here. A few more counters here, and Whiscash's Mud Shot just charges so fast. It is going to get to the Mud Bomb and bring that Vigoroth very low. However, it's able to get to one more Body Slam. Whiscash falls, Vigoroth is barely standing. In comes Probopass again. Indigo has 2 choices here, Ivysaur or Lapras. Let's see what he decides. He does decide to run with Ivysaur. I think this is probably the right move just because Ivysaur's damage output is superior. And Lapras is such a great generalist for whatever might be in the back. It does fire off a Rock Slide against the Ivysaur, and here you can see how much tankier Ivysaur is than Venusaur. He does fire off the Power Whip, and a simultaneous switch puts Indigo in an excellent position. In comes Altaria, and Indigo is right there with the Lapras. He is going to use a few Ice Shards here, then a Surf. Altaria is going to fire off the Sky Attack here, but these Ice Shards are wearing down this Altaria. He's going to fire off the Surf here to finish off this Probopass, or at least bring it dangerously low. Dangerously low it is, and then he's going to fire off another Ice Shard. Probopass gets to the Rock Slide, which is super effective, but he has a healthy Ivysaur to wrap things up. Indigo's next opponent is going to be bringing Ivysaur, Poliwrath, Steelix, Skarmory, Vigoroth, and Rainy Castiform. All of the Castiforms are very cheeky Pokemon. I like how they have the Weather Ball with their own unique typings, and they also have some moves that will surprise you. For example, did you know that Sunny Castiform carries Solar Beam? Indigo's Lantern is going to be met by that Rainy Castiform, so this is a great matchup for Lantern. He does open the switch trait expecting the swap. However, his opponent gets to that charge move so quickly. It does fire off the little Weather Ball, and that doesn't do much to Lantern. In comes Ivysaur here. Now his opponent does fire off the Sludge Bomb. I think Power Whip is probably the right move here. There's no really good move against the Skarmory in this situation, but you want to be energy efficient as much as possible. Indigo is going to farm down that Ivysaur. He's got a ton of energy banked. In comes that Rainy Castiform as he expected. He does have the Sky Attack ready, and he does burn one shield. He's got a back-to-back Sky Attack ready, and he does burn the second shield. So his opponent is out of shields. He does have that Rainy Castiform. He gets to a third Sky Attack, which is great for Indigo. He does have Lantern in the back with a ton of energy, just in case Skarmory doesn't bring down the Sunny or Rainy Castiform. He does fire off the Weather Ball, and then one more Air Slash will bring down that Rainy Castiform. In comes another Skarmory, and check this out, he has the Thunderbolt ready. This is double super effective, almost bringing down Skarmory. A few more Water Guns are almost doing the trick for him. However, he does get to the Sky Attack. A few more Water Guns bring down Skarmory, and Indigo wins. Jumping into round 2 against Vlad, Indigo leads with Skarmory right into that Poliwrath. This is a Mudshot Poliwrath, but Skarmory has no reason to fear. The Air Slashes and Sky Attacks are going to take it down really quick. This Poliwrath does get off a Power Up Punch and then exit the match. It is going to bail out in favor of Skarmory. Indigo's got a Lantern though. It's going to absorb this Sky Attack and no problem. Indigo's going to go for the Thunderbolt here, miss a few bubbles, still get the great, but he figured he would draw the shield anyway, and it worked out that way. He is going to shield this second Sky Attack here, recognizing the importance of his Lantern. He does fire off a few more Water Guns, almost gets to another Thunderbolt, but not before Skarmory gets to a third Sky Attack. He farms up a few more Water Guns here, and then goes for the Thunderbolt. Skarmory does shield that, and back in comes Poliwrath. However, he is loaded. He has got a Skarmory that he just brought out with a Sky Attack ready. He does fire that off here, and it takes down that Poliwrath with one hit. Shields are down. The Skarmory is weak. Indigo has played his hand really well. He's in an excellent position. He does drop this Skarmory here. He still has all 3 of his Pokemon as well. In comes Ivysaur, and this game is pretty much a wrap. This one Sky Attack should be enough to bring down the Ivysaur and win the match. Oh, well, one more Air Slash needed. Indigo's next opponent is going to bring Tropius, Toxicroak, Wigglytuff, Charizard, Lantern, and Probopass. The question whenever you see a Tropius is always Razor Leaf or Air Slash. Depends on your team composition, but looking at how this team might be a little bit weak to water, I'm expecting the Razor Leaf. Let's see. Indigo is going to lead with the Lantern. In comes Toxicroak. This is not super favorable for the Lantern. You have to watch out for those Mud Bombs. This Toxicroak is going to fire off a Mud Bomb and Lantern will shield. In comes Vigoroth. This isn't a great matchup either. Might be a better choice to bring in Skarmory in situations like this. The Mud Bomb and the one more counter brings down the Vigoroth. Now, Indigo has a choice to make. He does bring in his Skarmory here. A few Air Slashes are going to do good work, but he's unfortunately now trapped against this Probopass. These walls are really, really tough against the Flyers, especially if you're running a double or triple Flyer strategy. You always need to be mindful of where the Probopass, the Bastiodon are, etc. In comes a Rock Slide. So Indigo is finally able to get out of that match. He does bring in his Lantern here, but he is at a huge disadvantage. His opponent still has all 3 Pokemon and 2 shields. He's going to burn his last shield here against this Rock Slide. He does fire off the Thunderbolt here against Probopass. I think the best plan here to try to come back is to do minimal damage with your water guns, but then the Tropius comes in. This is an Air Slash Tropius, so it's not going to eat up that Lantern quite as fast. However, the Leaf Blade will do the trick. Indigo brings in the Skarmory, uses the Sky Attack here, but this match is pretty much done. Skarmory is going to fall here with a Leaf Blade from Tropius. Going into the second round against this trainer, Indigo is going to lead with the Skarmory, and here comes Probopass. Again, he gets caught on the lead, and this is not a great situation. He does bring in Vigoroth, and then here comes Toxicroak, and we've seen this play out before. Indigo will try for the Body Slam to get a little bit of damage, but it's going to be an uphill climb from here. He does decide to shield this Mud Bomb and then go for the Body Slam against Toxicroak. He does bring that Toxicroak pretty low, but his Vigoroth is down. He does have Lapras in the back, but I think he's got to... Well, he actually decides to bring in Lapras here, trying to wear down this Toxicroak while preserving his Skarmory. His opponent decides to bring in the Tropius. This isn't a terrible matchup because Lapras does have the Ice Shard. He does fire off the Surf there to put a little shield pressure on the Tropius. In comes the Leaf Blade and it rips down that Lapras. He brings in the Skarmory here, and now you have a situation where Skarmory is trapped against Probopass. This is not favorable for Indigo. He does shield that Thunderbolt and get to the Flash Cannon, which is the right move. Probopass does take that damage, but it's got another charge move ready, and this is not good for Indigo. He does take that Thunderbolt, but I think this match is pretty much a wrap here, especially with this final charge move from Probopass. Indigo's next opponent decided to bring in Bastiodon, Tropius, Toxicroak, Togekiss, Lantern, and Ivysaur. This is the first time we've seen Togekiss with Indigo's gameplay. I think it'll be very interesting to see how it's used. Jumping right into round 1, Indigo is going to lead with Vigoroth, and he finally catches a break. He leads into that Bastiodon. In comes a Lantern though, but Indigo has a solid answer in Ivysaur. Ivysaur can probably absorb this Thunderbolt, no problem. It does minimal damage. It does have the Vine Whip, so it's charging very quickly. In comes the Power Whip. However, the opponent decides to shield his Lantern. He is going to try to keep that Lantern around. Indigo is going to return the favor with a shield on his Ivysaur and then a Power Whip to put some additional shield pressure on the Lantern. That Lantern does fall, and then in comes Bastiodon. I think the icing on the cake would be to get to one more Power Whip, and it doesn't quite happen for us. That's okay because Vigoroth comes in. His opponent is down to 1 shield, so Indigo is going to shield this Stone Edge here. His opponent then brings in Ivysaur. This is working out perfectly for Indigo. He's got a great team composition, and coupled with a good lead, he's able to really maximize this match. He does face off against the Ivysaur here. He only needs one Sky Attack to beat it, and he still has Vigoroth with a Bulldoze in the back to handle the Bastiodon. He does fire off the Flash Cannon here against Bastiodon. Personally, I would have shield baited with the Sky Attack. However, it doesn't make a huge difference because he's going to get to a second Flash Cannon right here. Flash Cannon and then the quick swap to Vigoroth, and the Bulldoze is going to win Indigo the match. GG's to both players. Going into this match against OrionAurora, Indigo is going to choose to lead with Skarmory into Toxicroak. So this is a favorable matchup, as we've seen a couple times already. In comes Bastiodon though, and he does bring in the Vigoroth. So that Bastiodon is switch locked against the Vigoroth. It's not quite as bulky as some of the counters to Vigoroth, however it will do just fine. Those counters are adding up, and then here comes the Body Slam. Does a little bit of chip damage, might be a better idea to just farm it down. However, he is going to go here for the Bulldoze to finish this off. Guys, this was a 7-hour tournament. This thing took forever. By the end of it, you had a lot of players getting really exhausted, and it was fun the whole time, but Indigo mentioned to me that it was just the longest day. So much fun, but at the end of it, you just have to have that endurance. We saw that endurance at Worlds as well. I was there in Chicago in the rain when the championship was being played out on the street because the tournament took too long in the casino. Crazy time to be a battler, guys. He's going to get half of these bubbles here for the Sky Attack, and then Toxicroak will come in. At this point, he does decide to shield. He thinks that he can put on some pressure here with the Sky Attack, and he's 100% correct. His opponent is actually going to let that Sky Attack through, and the match will end there. His next opponent is going to bring Haunter, Lantern, Steelix, Skarmory, Tropius, and Toxicroak. This is, I think, the first time we've seen Haunter as well. So Haunter would be interesting, especially with that Shadow Ball threat. Alright everybody, jumping right into this round, Indigo is going to lead that trusty Dragonite yet again. Dragonite's an excellent generalist, however, it does run into a very bad wall with Steelix. Steelix is a steel type, as you know. Dragon is not super effective against it. His opponent switches into Lantern here. I'm not sure if he could have stayed in with the Steelix because he had the energy lead and he could have used an Earthquake. Maybe he just felt more comfortable bringing in the Lantern and saving the Steelix for the Dragonite later. So we're going to exchange Thunderbolts here. Indigo does shield, and then he fires off another Thunderbolt. His opponent Lantern is going to shield as well. That switch clock is ticking down. It's almost ready for a swap in case Indigo wants to make that move. He's going to burn his last shield on this Thunderbolt. His opponent bails out into Toxicroak, so his opponent is switch locked. He is going to bring in the Skarmory here, absorb these counters and the Mud Bombs, no big deal. We've actually seen this matchup a lot in the Safari Zone Cup. I didn't think we see it as much as we have. I did know Toxicroak was a very high pick, a very strong pick, so a lot of players did bring it. This Skarmory's got a ton of energy. Let's see what he unleashes. It is Lantern that comes in, so this Lantern is going to eat the Sky Attack here. Does some decent amount of damage. Indigo actually gets to another Sky Attack, which is excellent news for him. That Lantern is chipping down, and Indigo has to be feeling pretty good. He's got a Lantern with a ton of energy. He also brings in his Dragonite here, and now that the Steelix is back out, he is going to Hydro Pump. That is super effective, and it slams that Steelix down. This Lantern is about to go down, but not before it fires off a final Thunderbolt to take out Indigo's Lantern. In comes Dragonite, and it wraps it up nicely. Guys, we are jumping right into the next round against Paul. We're going to open with Vigoroth, and then Paul opens with Steelix. This is a good matchup, and Paul knows it. He bails out into the Tropius. Indigo has an excellent answer, though, with Skarmory. The Skarmory versus Tropius matchup is very similar to the Skarmory versus Venusaur matchup. You can just farm it up, especially a grass type that is running Razor Leaf like this Tropius is. It is going to get a couple of charge moves off, but it doesn't really do much to Skarmory at all. A few more air slashes are going to bring it down. Skarmory is in the red, but it has a ton of energy banked. It's going to use these attacks here to try to put some shield pressure on this Lantern. This is actually an excellent position for Indigo as well, because he doesn't want a healthy Skarmory that this Lantern can farm up. So he is going to let Skarmory fall instead of maybe switching out and saving it as a sacrificial swap. He knows he has a positive matchup against Steelix in the back, so he actually is going to bring in Vigoroth here. Personally, I might have brought in Lantern, but his opponent does switch into the Steelix. Maybe it was all going to plan. We're in a similar situation to what we were in the last match. We're trying to get to that Hydro Pump here. He is going to shield, thinking it might be Earthquake, but it is a crunch. These Water Guns are doing so much damage to this Steelix, who is double weak to them. However, the Earthquake comes through and smashes that Lantern. In comes his opponent's Lantern, and this match is pretty close. Indigo does have a shield, so we need to see if the counters are enough to bring down the Lantern. One more Body Slam from Indigo gets that second shield. Lantern is slow to get to its charge moves with that Water Gun, so it does fire off one Thunderbolt, and then the counters finish it off. Still a very, very close match and very well played by both players. Going into Indigo's next opponent, we are playing against Overhype. Overhype is bringing Skarmory, Bastiodon, Sceptile, Lantern, Noctowl, and Toxicroak. Very interesting team. I like the Sceptile pick. Noctowl is also an excellent flyer. Let's see how it goes. Indigo is going to kick off this match with the Vigoroth into the Sceptile lead. Sceptile does have the advantage here, I think, because it generates energy more quickly. However, Toxicroak is there as well. So the swap has been made. We're seeing the Skarmory versus Toxicroak matchup yet again. I think Dynamic Punch would have been the biggest threat if you were going to bring Toxicroak and try to give it some protection against Skarmory. The Sky Attack does bring down the Toxicroak, and in comes Lantern. We've seen this several times as well. The Skarmory is just going to use these Sky Attacks. There's no guarantee that you're going to get to the Flash Cannon in time, so you might as well dump that energy and get the chip damage done. Indigo's not going to burn his shield here. He knows the Skarmory is very weak. He does bring in his Vigoroth here and use the Body Slam against the Lantern to burn the last shield. In comes Sceptile with a ton of energy. Indigo is going to fire off the Body Slam and then bring in the Lapras. Lapras is going to be able to tank this move. It is Leaf Blade and it hurts like hell. However, the Ice Shards are just enough to bring it down. In comes Lantern. Indigo's going to fire off the Surf here. Does a little bit of chip damage. Might have been able to go for the Skull Bash there, but it's okay. He's going to fire off another Surf. This Lantern is chipping down, and Indigo does have a shield in the bank, so he's got to be feeling pretty confident at this point. In comes the Vigoroth. We're going to shield this Thunderbolt here. Hopefully Lantern doesn't have enough energy for a second one, and it does. Surprise, guys. This Lantern is actually going to pull this match back from the jaws of defeat. Indigo falls in round 1. Let's get started with round 2. Indigo is going to be using that Ivysaur lead. Let's see how Ivysaur stacks up against this team. It does run into Sceptile. That poison type move does give it coverage against Sceptile, and that trainer knows it. He bails out into Toxicroak. This might have been a misclick. Indigo comes in with the Vigoroth. Vigoroth is not going to do well against the Toxicroak because the counters are going to beat it down so quickly. He does fire off the Body Slam though and bring that Toxicroak very low. He does have a Ivysaur and a Skarmory in the back. One Air Slash is going to bring down the Toxicroak. Perhaps the other trainer did not shield because he didn't want his Toxicroak to get farmed again like it had previously. That if so, that's very smart. In comes Lantern. Indigo attempts to go for the switch, but he's going to have to burn his shield here to protect his Skarmory. He switches right into that Lantern, and then Sceptile is counter switched in. So he does fire off the Sludge Bomb. Here, Sceptile is going to use a charge move. It is a Frenzy Plant or Leaf Blade, it appears. Sorry, my Spanish isn't very good. He does fire off another Sludge Bomb against this Sceptile. Now, the trick is to survive long enough to get to that third Sludge Bomb. Let's see if he can do it. He does. Those Vine Whips charge very quickly. The Sludge Bomb is going to wreck. Hashtag get wrecked this Sceptile. In comes Skarmory against Lantern, and this is not good. One Thunderbolt is going to end the Skarmory. Let's see how close. Well, I spoke too soon. This Thunderbolt's going to come in, and Skarmory is going to fall. In comes the Ivysaur with a bit of life left, but it's just not quite enough. Indigo, thank you so much for letting me shoutcast this. I hope I did it justice. You are an excellent player, and watching your battles was so much fun. I hope the viewers enjoy this. Again, the link to his channel is in the description below, so please go and check him out. He's an awesome trainer, and he's going to keep making awesome content like he did in this video here. So check him out, and if you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. Keep it locked here for more.